북극 허리케인 같은 지구온난화에 따른 재해가 10년 전보다 40%나 늘어
북극 빙하는 30년 전에 비해 빠른 속도로 녹고 있습니다. 오는 2070년에는 모두 녹아내릴 것이라는 관측.
세계적인 휴양지인 인도양의 몰디브, 해수면 상승 속도가 빨라지면서 수몰 위기에 놓였습니다.
아프리카에선 물 부족으로 극심한 식량난이
가시화되는 환경의 역습을 인류가 완전히 극복할 수 있을지는 의문.
Global warming and unusual temperatures pose a threat to the existence of humankind in the 21st century. Typhoons and floods have destroyed our livelihood. The glaciers of the North and South Poles are melting, and entire nations are in danger of being submerged by the rising sea levels. On the other hand, severe droughts are causing food crises, leading to widespread suffering all over the world. Global warming is resulting in natural disasters that shorten the Earth's lifespan. Washington, D.C., the National Press Club. The first recipients of the Sunhak Peace Prize were recognized here. The first recipients of the Sunhak Peace Prize are Kiribati President Anote Tong, who has worked at the forefront of the climate change crisis to ensure the future of humankind, and Dr. Modadugu Gupta from India, who has pioneered the Blue Revolution to solve future food crises. The first recipients of the Sunhak Peace Prize are Kiribati President Anote Tong and Indian marine biologist Dr. Modadugu Gupta. How have these two individuals contributed to world peace? There are nations in danger of being submerged due to global warming and rising sea levels.
On climate change, while the international community continues to point fingers at each other regarding the responsibility for and leadership on this issue, our people continue to experience the impact of climate change and sea level rise.
Anote Tong is the president of Kiribati. Located in the northeast part of Oceania in the South Pacific, Kiribati is a small island nation with a total land area of about 811 square kilometers, about the size of the Korean city of Daegu, and has a population of 105,000. Officially the Republic of Kiribati, it is commonly referred to simply as Kiribati. Global urbanization and industrialization have increased the Earth's temperature and gradually eroded glaciers, icebergs, and sea ice. However, this has led to rising sea levels that also affect island nations with no industrial development.
The long-term scenario, according to the projections, is that we would have at some time have to leave our island.
President Tong has been working to spread awareness on the severity of the climate situation. What kind of policies has he carried out for this island nation? The small South Pacific island nation of Kiribati is said to experience the first sunrise of the day. The day that we visited Kiribati also happened to be their National Independence Day. Kiribati is proud of its 4,000-year history, but the unfortunate nation was colonized by the British in 1788 and later occupied by the Japanese Army during the Second World War, only to once again become a British territory after the war. Kiribati gained complete independence as a nation in 1979. And every year the people of Kiribati gather together to commemorate the anniversary of their independence. Not far from the stadium, the banquet hall of the president's residence is also busy welcoming guests. President Anote Tong was elected in 2003 and has been serving as president for 3 terms. Delegates from various nations have also gathered here at the president's seat to congratulate the Kiribati people.
On behalf of our gracious host this evening, His Excellency the President Anote Tong and the First Lady, Bernadette Meme Tong, I would like to welcome you all to State House. I'm the President Melody.
Maori is a traditional Kiribati greeting.
I'm sorry, I'm a bit deaf this evening. I'm the Maori. Maori! That's more like it. Thank you very much.
What kind of significance does the Independence Day anniversary hold for the 5th Kiribati president?
This morning, again, I want to say that it's the journey that we have taken over the last 36 years has been, sometimes we do believe that the challenges are far greater than what we can handle. But I can assure you, there is always a solution if we would simply take the time and the opportunity to look for the solutions.
Kiribati is a nation that has suffered for years, but their pain continues. Composed of 33 atolls and a beautiful ocean, Kiribati, though poor, is a quiet nation with an abundance of fish. The tropical forests and fruit trees have provided these simple people with a peaceful life. However, their happy lives are being disrupted by the rising sea levels. Scientists have warned that Kiribati will become the world's first nation to vanish underwater. In 2005, the entire nation was paralyzed by a typhoon that left a trail of destruction in its wake. Approximately 300 oceanfront homes were flooded. The citizens were unable to evacuate in time, and the villages became islands within the island.
I'll show you, I had the wall here initially, and so that was destroyed by the very high tides in 2005. And I built this quite some time back, over the years, and that was destroyed. So I rebuilt it, and this one was destroyed in 2005.
Thanks to President Tong's swift actions and emergency relief, the nation was able to regain stability. However, they have not been able to stop their current situation from worsening. It was only a matter of time until the water breached the seawall. The flooded homes were not easily restored. Livestock was swept away, and the power never came back on.
For quite some time I did not sleep because I had no solution to a problem that nobody has a solution to. What happens to us as a people in the future? Do we disappear as a culture? And so these are the issues that keep me awake.
The small villages were isolated for a period of time. Children were at risk of being exposed to infectious diseases.
My house was there, where the water is now, between those plants there to here. And now it's a sea. They say that today it will be much higher than yesterday. So now we are expecting this classroom to be flooded, some of the houses to be flooded. Even our Manaba here will be flooded as well. It's a wasteland,
This country and its government had no means to help the flood victims. While innocent children play on the banks as if on a playground, the waters continue to rise. Eventually, the moment people were dreading arrived. In 2010, Kiribati was hit by another typhoon.
We had communities which had to relocate because what was a good village, vibrant village, is no longer there because it's been eroded. And we are seeing a lot more of this happening, more frequency.
The long and expansive coastline that Kiribati has taken pride in has been pushed 30 meters inland. At this rate, Kiribati will be completely submerged within 50 years. What was once a beach became the sea. The map of the nation continues to change. Kiribati's main export item, coconuts, have also been damaged, rocking the nation's economy. Even homes that had somehow suffered less damage have no guaranteed safety. The entire island is facing a dangerous situation. There is no way to prevent the rising sea levels from driving the people of Kiribati toward a dark and grim reality.
Well, they have difficulties now. They're crossing over. They have to wait for the low tide. They have to swim to the side.
The sea level around Kiribati rises approximately 6 millimeters every year, which is 3 times the global average. Here is a couple that lives close to the ocean, but values water. Water levels in wells have been falling and mixing with salt water. The salt water cannot be used for drinking or cooking, but it is used for laundry and showering.
This cannot drink.
Drinking water is supplied by the government, but there is no way to ensure its sanitation and potability. These isolated people are living each day in fear and suffering. Climate change is affecting even their eating habits. The Kiribati people are left relying on canned goods and processed foods, and more people are going without food. These people and children have become climate change refugees, in dire need of some sort of help. Over half of the Kiribati people make a living in the fishing industry. However, it has become harder to catch fish, and the fish themselves have decreased in size. In the past, they cultivated crops that were suited to Kiribati's natural characteristics and had no problem being self-sufficient. However, rising temperatures and sand permeating the fields has rendered it difficult to grow and cultivate fruits and vegetables.
The waves, the sea has broken into the freshwater pond. And so it's contaminated the freshwater lenses, destroyed the crops. And so the livelihood of people is being very directly affected.
This store is important to the people of the fishing village, but most of the products are imported goods. There is hardly any fresh produce from their own land. It's possible to purchase fruits and vegetables, but these are also imported and very expensive. Climate change is making an already poor nation into an even poorer one. Will the conditions of Kiribati's capital, Tarawa, be any better? Half of the population resides in Tarawa. What is the life of an average family living outside of the flooded region? Even the capital is suffering from the water shortage, and housewives have taken to closely managing the precious water.
Until when did you drink this kind of water?
Well, to me I think like more than 50 years ago they still drink the water. For now it's just using for shower, that's the only thing we use it for. And washing, laundry.
The people of Kiribati are sensitive when it comes to water. Most families have received storage tanks from the government.
Yes, they kind of budgeting how they give the water to people also, but not daily. It's like you're thinking ahead, soon you'll be like with them, same thing with them. So, but I feel it's kind of scared.
An ambassador from India was invited to the presidential office to help solve the main issues facing the people of Kiribati.
How many people live in this area?
There's slightly more than 50 households now. There used to be a lot more houses here, but they all moved. They all relocated.
The Indian ambassador's expression grows tense.
There must be health problems also, right?
There is like every, and this is what we're starting to see. The sort of trends, like when there's spring tide or flooding in areas, there's outbreak of diarrhea. To try and correlate, the impact on health, and when there's something happen, then how does health sector respond to this type of events? To stop wave overtopping, because there's a seawall in front of you.
Oh, yeah.
It's very high. As you can see, the sand is too far, but That ship was a bit down there, crashed to the seawall.
And when was this wall?
It's always been here. When I was a small boy, it was here.
Yeah.
Australian Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the leadership of Kiribati is very enlightened. They understand that the question is about the future of the country itself. Excellency President Anote Tong has been speaking at United Nations and other international organizations and meetings, and he's been talking about a life and death issue for Kiribati.
President Tong lives in the official presidential residence with his 12 grandchildren, and in his spare time, this simple president goes to the beach to catch fish with them. With the increasing floods and rising waters, the presidential residence will no longer be safe and sound.
We have to. If we didn't build the seawalls, this will be entirely eroded. We got the high tide coming next month, and I'm waiting to see what further damage will happen. And so it's going to keep happening until we put into place some major defensive programs.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has also visited Kiribati.
A young child asked, Mr. Secretary General, you're in charge of this world organization. Is there anything you can do to ensure that we will survive in the future? So the Secretary General has been a very strong advocate ever since. I'm very grateful to him for putting climate change on the top of the international agenda. It was not, and I've been struggling very much to try and put it on top of the agenda, but nobody cares. It's not relevant.
As the Kiribati people's very existence is threatened, they continue to struggle to establish countermeasures. The seawall is invaluable to Kiribati's people. Mangrove trees are also used as a natural seawall. With no funding to import cement, this is the best alternative.
The mangroves you can see in the background here, they were planted a couple of years ago, I think 3 or 4 years ago. The mangroves is, of course, a soft measure of protecting the coastline. They grow very, very slow, but eventually, once they matured, they could greatly kill the power of the waves. So it protects the coastline.
However, just a few years after being planted, the mangrove trees aren't functioning very well as a seawall.
Seawalls is very expensive, and we don't have that resources to do that. So planting mangroves along the coast here is our own way of protecting our coastline.
Many areas of Kiribati have already disappeared underwater. The children of this vanishing nation are in danger.
I'm afraid of my own country because sea will rise soon. It will cover my country. I really love my country, and I love all the people in my country. And so, could you please help my country?
Kiribati is in danger of being swallowed up, and its people are suffering. But the government is unable to find a solution. President Tong has appealed to the UN.
Mr. President, on climate change, while the international community continues to point fingers at each other regarding responsibility for and leadership on this issue, our people continue to experience the impact of climate change and sea level rise.
Representing his people and their suffering, President Tong's UN presentation sparked concern within the international community. President Tong spread awareness of Kiribati's situation every chance he could find. But there weren't many countries that showed their support for the small island nation. But President Tong was determined to save his people, because their dire situation required the attention and investment of the international community.
The clock is ticking. Every year we delay, the greater the damage, the more extensive the human misery.
President Tong received the precious opportunity to speak on the effects of climate change on human beings at the Geneva Conference.
I'm very happy to be here. The long-term scenario, according to the projections, is that we would have at some time have to leave our islands.
He expressed the suffering of the Kiribati people who have become climate change refugees.
That's exactly what we need today. It's climate justice for the climate refugees who will be lost, all because of industrialization and the overexploitation, which is not their own doing.
The participants finally started to pay attention.
President Tong, could you pick up on that particular point? Give us some ideas. Put them on the table here.
Okay. I've got some ideas. In fact, we've already started programs in collaboration with the governments of Australia and New Zealand. New Zealand currently takes in 75 of our people on an annual basis as migrants. They're picked at random. If each country of this world would do that, I think we would solve our problem.
Right, let's pick up on more ideas.
From that day on, President Tong felt a renewed sense of hope. The innocent climate change refugees of Kiribati had managed to gain the support of the international community. The Kiribati Institute of Technology began to teach the citizens to use professional equipment and technology that will be required once they emigrate to other countries. After receiving training for a certain period of time, students are invited by other countries as legal immigrants. This is the beginning of what President Tong has emphasized as migration with dignity.
And Australia is going to be a big place for us. Also, it's going to be a big assessment as well for us.
No, that's true.
I'll miss my culture, of course, my country, the language, and maybe the food and the ocean. I think this is a good opportunity for me, not just for me, but I'm also the future of my family.
So we're trying to talk to partners and countries abroad and say, we can give you 100 nurses or we can give you 50 carpenters. It's actually just getting into that sort of agreement. And they can live there as citizens, but at the same time become, worthwhile citizens. That's what migration with dignity.
Migration with dignity is a policy proposed by President Tong to assist the Kiribati people in leaving their home without losing their dignity. The Migration with Dignity program also allows citizens to decide for themselves whether to stay on Kiribati or emigrate to another country.
Well, I think it's not easy to migrate, but they love the place. We don't want our people to be displaced at the last moment and to migrate as people without skills, to become second-class citizens wherever they relocate to. And I think, again, it's we're trying to put some positives on the highly negative list of choices. In other words, they would have lost their home. But what I truly hope is they would not lose their dignity.
In 2014, after long negotiations, Kiribati purchased land on the northern part of Fiji Island.
We just concluded the transaction last year, the purchase of the land, and this is the kind of humanity that I've been challenging the international community to come up with, and I think I want to.
President Tong resolved to protect the ocean's resources as a way of repaying the international community. Even in the midst of his nation's hopeless predicament, he continues to lead global efforts to protect the ocean. He hosted the Tarawa and Climate Change Conference in Kiribati, inviting representatives from nations with the greatest carbon emissions. This conference opened the door for developed countries to support those suffering from climate change through the UN Climate Change Convention. Although Kiribati people cannot live freely due to the threat of the rising water, their desperate voices have become a sign of a hopeful future, changing the earth itself.
It will not do simply to say and acknowledge that climate change is an existential challenge. It is about our response to it as a global community of moral human beings.
Now that we have seen their accomplishments, the founder, Dr. Hak Ja Han, will present the awards. Dr. Hak Ja Han and her husband, the late Reverend Sun Myung Moon, founded the Sunhak Peace Prize while devoting their lives to world peace. We will now introduce President Tong and Dr. Modadugu Gupta. The Sunhak Peace Prize is an international peace prize that transcends race, nationality, and religion. Let's congratulate them with a big round of applause.
It's as much for her as for all our dozen or so grandchildren, as well as those grandchildren whose voice we have tried to represent over the years. For their sake, let us do what is right for them. In closing, let me share with you our very traditional blessings of Tamauri, Terai Tetapamuan, meaning health, peace, and prosperity be upon us all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Just as Kiribati President Anote Tong, the champion standing on the forefront of climate change for peace and the future of humankind, and Dr. Modadugu Gupta of India, the pioneer of the Blue Revolution in combating the future food crisis, have given us hope for the future, so too will subsequent individuals make a difference in the world.